What's going on, guys? It's the fantasy hockey expert here today. Had to wear the Jays hat to support my hometown team, who had a big win last night. I believe they had 14 runs total. So, Jays are back in the series. We'll stick to hockey for this video and get right into it. We're going to be doing our fantasy hockey week 2 drops, which is our first drop video. You can see by the thumbnail that we have some big players who just need to be dropped. Some big names, some guys that I said were must draft players. I'll hold myself accountable for that. And with that being said, I'll get right into our first player, a guy who I actually owned a signed jersey of at some point. I'm happy to say that it's sold by now. It was actually auctioned off probably 6 to 12 months ago, and I did regret the decision, but no more than Patrik Laine, guys. A guy who is just playing fourth line minutes, barely any power play time. He's almost on that level of Ivan Demidov, but I'd say he's less valuable because he is older and doesn't have the upside. But Patrik Laine, guys, I don't know what's happened in Montreal there, but he's just not being valued, but he's also not serving a role that kind of puts him in the top 6 or even on the top line like he was at some point. So Patrik Laine is the first guy you're going to want to drop in fantasy hockey. And, you know, if he becomes available and he kind of makes the PP1 reunion with a guy like Lane Hudson there and he scores some power play goals, then maybe you're going to want to pick him up. He isn't a bad streaming option if you're looking for maybe some shots on goal, but again, there's not much upside right now, and he's at a point in his career where he's going to want to probably just secure a spot in the lineup. I don't think he wants to get traded at some point, and he is making over $8 million. So, especially if you're in a salary cap league, you're going to want to drop him. I free up a lot of cap space. I was able to put it into some other players like Erik Karlsson, who I'm not happy about, but I would say is not a guy you're going to want to drop compared to Patrik Laine. So, with that being said, guys, let's go to number 2 here. We've got Kent Johnson of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, another guy on the thumbnail here. He just hasn't done anything this year. Nothing to show for it. No face-offs. I'm not happy about that in my face-off leagues because it just punishes you. He currently listed on the top line, but he's on power play too. And I can't do it with Columbus, guys. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't have a ton of interest in them in regular point leagues, and that includes guys like Jenner, Monahan. I mean, for me, Marchenko is the only points guy I like. I don't even like Fantilli for points just because, again, he's in a situation like Bedsy. He's only in his 3rd season. And while he has lots of proof, he has a lot of responsibility to prove as well, and that comes from the defensive side of the puck. Alrighty, without more yap, let's get into our third guy here, guys. Someone you might not be expecting on this list is Zane Parekh of the Calgary Flames. So, unfortunately, if you did draft Parekh, you drafted the wrong defenseman. He's listed on PP2 right now, and he's not getting first-line minutes. The right defenseman to draft would have been Zeke Boyum or Matthew Schaefer or another young guy like Elaine Hudson. Now, I know you weren't going to get those guys as late as Zane Parekh, but it's time to drop him because Mackenzie Weegar is the guy, and Rasmus Anderson's also the guy until he gets traded. So you just unfortunately aren't going to see it from Parekh right now. And even if you do, that Calgary Flames team is just not it. Tough loss last night to Utah. They only had 20 shots on net. I'll give a shout out to Vejmelka with the huge win last night. He's a stud. That Utah team looks good. Finally, no contribution from Dylan Gunther, so that was pretty interesting. Let's continue on this list, though, guys. We're going to go on to a guy who recently got hurt, and that's Pierre-Luc Dubois. So Dubois is a guy that you don't need to stash on your IR or your day-to-day list. Save it for other guys. Dubois is not anything special anymore. We know that. And he'll be available on your waiver wire if he does return. But for now, you're obviously going to look at other guys on Washington to pick up if you want to drop him. So you could look at Ryan Leonard, maybe a possible Connor McMichael or Alexi Protas, who scored the other night. So let's continue on this list here, guys. We're going to go on to a guy who might be rostered in your league. That's Alex Laferriere, a guy who had a very good year last year. The LA Kings were very heavily rostered last year, and they continue to be so this year. But unfortunately, with Byfield's upsurge and even the upsurge of Andrei Kuzmenko, you're just not seeing the deployment from Alex Laferriere on PP1. And you have to remember you have a lot of shooters on that team, including guys like Trevor Moore and so forth. To continue on this list, guys, we have Gabe Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche, a guy who people were kind of just taking those dark horse waves on in preseason. But when you look at the Colorado Avalanche, there's no secure spot for him on the power play one, and there's no line one role for him as well. He had the chemistry with McKinnon back in the day. Those two are the OGs. We know that when it comes to Colorado. But Martin Necas is the guy who's going to be playing left wing / right wing, and you're also going to always have those streaming options like Lehkonen, maybe Victor Olofsson at some point. But Landeskog doesn't fit on that line, and on PP1 you just have a lethal power play right now, and you can't switch things up if things are working. So with that being said, it's unfortunate. I think Landeskog's gonna, serve a good role on that team, but he won't be fantasy relevant. Won't be putting up the shots, maybe even less hits possibly. But there's a lot of other waiver wire targets that you guys need to look at in your league. If you haven't checked it already, please check out my video from yesterday where I go over those. I did include Yuri Kulich, who had a goal and an assist last night. So a bit of a shout out to Yuri Kulich, who was on that list. Moving forward, guys, you're going to look to drop Tony DeAngelo, a guy who I roster right now. I'm probably going to drop him today. If you haven't heard, Matthew Schaefer's the real deal for the New York Islanders. So I know Pete Jensen said it best on the NHL Fantasy Pod, but through 3 games, he looks like a stud, and he's all around the ice. He almost doesn't run out of gas. He's playing top minutes. He's going to break the record for rookie time on ice for a defenseman. And yeah, it's great to see, but for Tony DeAngelo, if he's not playing power play 1, he won't be relevant. So a guy who's playing line 2 minutes and line 2 power play. The Isles, again, are not that team that you're really going to rely on for power play points anyways. And with that being said, let's get into our final drop of the day, guys. This is going to be a player from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Matias Maccelli. Guys, if you still roster Maccelli, now's the time to drop him. Might be the case with Cowan soon too. You never know, but there's just too much contribution up there. We're seeing just heavy domination from guys like Nyes, Matthews, Marner. Almost said Marner there. Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, and a bit of Tavares domination, but you're not seeing that same Leafs offensive-esque there. You're seeing the Leafs win games now, kind of like they did last year, but you're seeing them win games 3-1. 4-2, and that didn't happen in the past. And this is good for the Leafs, but it's just a new style, and that's the Berube style / the non, I don't know what you really want to call it, but just the non 2010s, early 2020s Leafs who would win games 6-4 and go be able to outscore a team, which that's not the way to win either, but I do think this defensive structure is going to help them off of the fantasy charts. So yeah, guys, with that being said, that's kind of the last guy you want to drop. There are some defensemen that you're going to want to look at dropping too, including guys like Bowen Byram, Jacob Trouba. A couple of forwards who are being dropped a lot right now are Valery Shushkin. A lot of guys like that. So be careful. Have a look. Feel free to shoot me a message, guys, at Fantasy Hockey Expert on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Like I said, I'm going to be putting up some banners with your questions, and I'll be answering those right on YouTube so you guys have the full answer and full in-depth description. If you guys are looking for a fantasy guide for the hockey season, please check out the Dauber Hockey Guide. Great, reliable source. They also have their Dauber Frozen tools available for free on their website. So if you're looking to know ownership, trade bait, all those things, go check them out. And thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.